Right, hi guys, I'm James, and today I'm here to talk about Consider Phlebas and Player of Games, but I'm not alone. I've got Lyall here.
Hi guys. Hi James.
Hello.
Yeah, thanks man.
We've been sitting here in this room for a little while, so saying hello is weird. Podcasts are weird.
They are. They're very weird.
In general, I've not done one before, but anyway, we're going to be talking about the works of Iain M. Banks. Just important to make that distinction, I guess, because if you said Iain Banks, people would think we're talking about sad Scottish bridges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, which I really like as well.
Yeah. Maybe we'll delve into that later. Yeah. So Iain M. Banks is a sci-fi writer from Scotland who is now dead.
Yeah,
In
he
theory.
died, what, in theory? I mean, he definitely is.
He definitely is.
Yeah,
He's
any
not-
conspiracy theories about
Well, what if
this?
the Scientologists are right? And, he's just become one with L. Ron Hubbard or something.
Maybe he has. He never wrote about that. So.
He never wrote about L. Ron
Confirmed.
Hubbard. Confirmed. Get your tinfoil hats out. So, basically we're going to be talking about two books today because we thought it'd be nice to do a compare-contrast kind of thing. He's written a lot of sci-fi books. Like he did 12 or 14.
Yeah, so I think there's 12 and a short story collection.
Yeah.
Because we were looking at doing one a month when we first thought of this idea. Didn't happen. But then also it kind of felt that certain books matched quite well, so we could do a contrast episode.
And that's probably for the best, because this first book, Consider Phlebas. Is it Phlebas or Phlebas?
I don't know.
Or Phlebas?
This is going to happen a lot because so many names in the Culture series are incomprehensible.
Yes.
Aren't they? So I think we should take the line that you and I should have different pronunciations for every name.
We'll set it up now so that we can just start, just coming up with whatever.
So I'm going to go with Consider Phlebas.
Phlebas. I'm happy with Phlebas or Phlebas.
Oh,
So
a new challenger
a
appears.
new challenger appears. So let us know if you're a fan of Iain M. Banks and you've got a rage face on right now about that. Let me know.
There's
Obviously,
like a
in the
fourth
comments. Yeah, there's a
pronunciation
secret one that we've not understood.
It's a silent S, mate. You don't know anything.
It's actually Phlebas. So, in any case, we're not going to be very kind to this first book because I think it's fair to say we both hated it.
Yeah, let me give it a little bit of context. This was your first read of this book,
No,
right?
this is my second
You've
read.
read this twice.
I've read
as well.
Phlebas twice.
So I think I must have read it 3 times. I must have. I'm the big Iain Banks fanboy here. I've read almost all of his works and probably most of them twice. Reading this one, coming into this again in January, I thought, it's the weakest Culture novel, easily, but it's still kind of a fun action-adventure, a bit more of a traditional sci-fi romp. It's a really bad book.
It's just really bad. It's really bad. Like everything that could go wrong when you're writing a novel has gone wrong here, and I don't know how no one caught it.
It's bizarre.
It's like, this isn't the first novel he ever wrote, right?
That's what I don't understand, because I'm currently going back through his mainstream novels as well, and this book came out in the same year as his 4th mainstream book.
So he knew how to tell a story.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big,
This was published in 1988.
Like The Wasp Factory, Walking on Glass, The Bridge in particular, I think is fantastic. So it's not that the guy was just a bit of a shoddy writer and he kind of mastered his craft over the years. I think part of me, I was prepared to sort of make excuse. It's his first sci-fi book.
Yeah.
Perhaps too many ideas. But it's just so badly structured.
It is. And I think he got carried away in a lot of places. We'll get into that, I think. So, do you want to give us a summary, Lyall, of what this book's about?
Okay. So, in essence, the Consider Phlebas is a small story taking place in the context of a galactic scale war between the Culture, who are a kind of anarcho-communist, generally peace-loving human society, and the Adherents, who sort of represent the antithesis of that religious fanaticism, a kind of fascistic empire, as it were. The story itself seems something of a simple idea. There is an agent, Bora Gorbachev, who is something called a changer. He's like a human who can assume other people's identities. He's tasked by the Adherans to go on a mission and capture something called a mind. These essentially like super AI.
They're just big supercomputers.
Supercomputers, right? Yeah. A culture mind that has gone to ground somewhere.
But essentially, most of the book is him not doing that. Yeah. And therein lies really sort of the biggest initial problem, I think you could easily say. Do we want to talk about some positives that we had of this before we just tear it a new arsehole?
Okay.
Because we don't want you to think that we hate him.
No, not at all. Not at all. I want to make it clear I'm a huge Banks fan. Yeah, and I think you're going to love more of these books as time goes on. And
if the ghost of Iain Banks is watching this, contact Derek Acora
from his Scientology dome.
And contact Derek Acora and ask him to tell us what you were trying to do with this book, because I want to know. So, positives. I think the imagination on display is evident right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, it's so easy with a lot of sci-fi books when you have aliens, especially in like a post-Star Trek era, to just have guys with forehead ridges.
Knobbly faces.
But I think Banks really like put some proper attention into making a properly alien like enemy. Like the culture are pretty alien from humans themselves for different reasons.
Yeah, for very different reasons.
But the Adherans are like tripod guys with like bike saddle
shaped heads. Yeah. They're like functionally immortal.
Yeah,
they're described as having like these chitinous outer shells,
and they've got weird chest flaps that boom. Which is pretty. It's pretty unique.
Something that comes up a lot with Banks's aliens. I have to spend a lot of time visualizing them, and that is indicative of his big imagination. That he doesn't just want to fall into those, as you say, Star Trek kind of tropes. So that's cool. And the imagination comes across really well in his attention to world building.
Yeah.
I think that's a big positive from this book. You can really tell that he's like bursting with ideas that he wants you to sort of share. He just needs to sort of finesse them.
Yeah. I think that's definitely the case. And like the culture as well, I think is obviously it's a hugely interesting construction. But you don't get a lot of it in this first book.
No, it's an interesting choice to make them the antagonists.
Yeah. Especially because like, when I first picked this up, so I picked this up at a second-hand bookstall when I was at university, and I was like, oh, what's the culture? And I was never answered that, really, in the reading of this first book. And I was like,
I think you can tell he's sort of trying to let you in on what the culture is. And one of the things I actually quite enjoy about this are the intermission chapters, where you get a sort of culture. How do you describe that character?
So they're like a troubleshooter, almost. They have the same kind of cognitive abilities of a mind to like predict the outcomes of things and see patterns and that kind of stuff. But obviously they're human, so therefore fallible, I guess. So it makes me
really
wonder
like
why
the
they
analogy
use them.
he uses for that, right? So there's however many umpteen trillion citizens in the culture, right? And he's like, this shouldn't happen. A human shouldn't be able to outguess these supercomputers every time. But if you toss that many gazillion coins, then one or two of them will show heads for a really, really, really long time. And it is almost like a kind of lucking out thing, right?
Yeah. So those chapters as well are really good. Like all of the intermission chapters, because this book is so long in the tooth that it requires multiple intermissions.
Yeah,
like if this was a play, you'd be there forever.
Well, I felt like I was there forever.
I felt like I was there forever. It really tanked my entire reading plans for that month, to be honest. So what's some of the other good parts like? Unaha Closp.
Right, that's my next.
Yeah, he's like number one character.
All the sass.
Yeah, he's so Unaha Closp is a drone which is like drones are sentient in the culture. Like they're mini AIs. They're not as good as minds.
They are sort of expressed as like baseline intelligence.
Yeah,
a drone has the same essential mental capabilities as a human would be expected to in the culture, whereas a mind is essentially godlike.
Yeah, so Unaha Closp is marvellous. He's introduced very late into the story, but as soon as he shows up, I think the things start picking up.
Now, did you? I think perhaps you related massively to this character, and that's why.
Maybe, yeah,
because
that might be it.
Because the tone of Unaha Closp as a character, constantly questioning, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
This man is insane.
Yeah.
This is pointless.
It's like, can we just get on with it?
Yeah.
So I guess that really brings us to our negatives, which is like everything else.
I would say one more positive.
Okay.
I really like the idea of the game Damage.
Yeah.
They play in this. The games is something that comes up a lot in Banks's work, both in sci-fi and his mainstream fiction. It's obviously something he's really fascinated by.
Yeah.
Damage is essentially poker, but the cards inflict emotional states on the other players. So as well as bluffing one another, you're kind of filling the other players around the table with rage against another player, or like uncontrollable love for you, so they want you to win. And there's this
massive insecurity about your own future.
Yeah, which I think is a really, really interesting concept.
Yeah.
So I want to give that a shout out.
Yeah.
Before we delve into what went.
Yeah, and I think that's it. That's our launching point now into saying. So, sort of everything went wrong here in Phlebas because I mean the fundamental failure from my perspective as the protagonist himself, because from my own point of view, my own sort of thesis on storytelling is that a character is so central to everything that happens, and when you don't have a character that really shines, it all sort of falls apart around it. And that's kind of what happened here, because Horza gets his mission, and then I think it's fair to say he just sort of forgets about it in the next chapter.
Around, and I understand that the setup here is he's given a mission, something gets in the way, and now he has to find a new way around it and whatnot. But then we spend, 4, 5, 6 chapters not really moving anywhere, just a series of
set pieces.
Yeah.
And it's really because sort of what the problem is, it's not the sort of like the nuts and bolts of it. Like the individual scenes are like okay on their own in isolation. Like he has that motivation to get out of the situation he's in and get away. But what he doesn't have is that sort of overriding desire to get back to the main point. Like he gets derailed from his mission, and like rather than trying what he can to get back on track of his mission, he just sort of wants to get out of his current predicament.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really remember him devoting any time to thinking about his mission.
No, I think
for quite a long time.
He thinks about
a paragraph or two where he's like, "Oh, here's my sort of long-term plan here," but it's not really front and centre.
I think he thinks about it once, and he thinks, "Oh, I could probably just not do it," which sort of as a reader then makes me think, well, yeah, I mean, you probably could.
Yeah.
Why bother? Yeah. Seems a bit rubbish.
Doesn't mean that much to you, does it?
Yeah, no, not bothered. He's not bothered about much, to be honest.
I think that's another huge problem here. He is motivated by a very sort of basic dislike of the culture.
Yeah.
Which is articulated, and that's fine. He's distrustful of like a society governed by its machines and whatnot, but he's never challenged on it in the book, he never really has to reconsider that opinion, and that motivation never moves anywhere. It just kind of, things happen to him, and he's still just floating through it.
Yeah, I don't get that at all. Like, what he's doing is so, like, it's so basic. Like, he hates the culture, and because I think that's probably the part of the problem is that we don't experience too much of the culture in this book. Like, I think if this character came along later in the series, when we had a better understanding of what the culture is, we probably would understand better why he is so distrustful. But from the perspective we have, he's just like, I hate the culture. And you go, but why? And he's like, well, I just do. And you're like, oh, right.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Now, you had a theory about, there's a particular chapter in here when he is stranded on a desert island. And this perhaps, I think, will illustrate how far off the plot we get. He's stranded on a desert island, and there's this weird kind of doomsday cult that take him hostage for a while. And I think that's part of that. Like, Banks described himself as an evangelical atheist. Like, this is him, like, throwing in a sort of anti-religious chapter to it.
Yeah.
You had a theory that this was perhaps to challenge Hawes's assumptions about life and religion and the things he believes in that the culture doesn't represent.
Yeah.
But afterwards, he just doesn't care.
He doesn't even think about it.
He doesn't think about it.
He never mentions it ever again.
Yeah.
Because that whole chapter is really weird. Like, he crashes on this island, and like, it's this society that's dedicated to this one guy who he just eats people. I don't know why they're dedicated to him. I guess because he's fat. I don't know.
Cults, mate.
Cults.
I don't know.
I know about those. They're all crooked. They're all shit. If you ever get invited to join one, just don't do
say
it.
no.
Yeah, it's pretty rubbish.
I mean, what else can we say about Hawes? So one of the things that really didn't work, really late in the book, there's a kind of culture curveball that's thrown at him. He has a love interest during the story. There's not much to that character, Yao-son, at all. Very late in the book, he finds out that, like, her dad was from the culture, or a mum or something, but he doesn't. I mean, it sounds like you'd forgotten that.
Yeah,
like,
And he
he's
finds
like,
out.
I guess that's a thing.
And he finds out she's pregnant, and he doesn't really care about that either.
Just
like, what was the point of that twist?
Yeah,
so he's got this love interest, and then right at the end of the book, in like midway through the third act, she just suddenly goes, "Oh, I wonder how much radiation we've absorbed." Like, what? And it turns out she's pregnant, but then like a few chapters later, she's dead anyway. So it's totally irrelevant. Like, Hawes never goes, "Oh, I wonder what my son will be like."
No,
he's just like, "Oh, right."
I mean, he gets angry when she dies a bit.
Yeah.
But
who cares? Not any more angry as he was about when his first girlfriend died.
Yeah, exactly. You haven't really. None of this has pulled me along with the character.
No,
in any way.
Yeah,
and that's a bad place to be in when you're reading a novel.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just because you can't understand why he hates the culture, so you can't understand why he's working for the Adirans, and you can't really understand what the point, because there's a bit in the interludes where they're talking about, what would happen if he actually succeeded. And the result was it might extend the war by about 3 months, maybe. And like, all right, great.
It all becomes meaningless, and I think in that context, it's the sort of meta narrative, and we get into this in the appendices in the book, which is actually another thing I quite enjoy.
Yeah, that's true.
That sort of fake pseudo history of the war. You do get the sense that this is all futile, which is an interesting idea to see perhaps in the appendices. But throwing in that line, as you said, even if he achieves his goal, the fighting goes on for a while.
So, and that sort of just deflates.
Everything undermines the
it's kind of
story,
just deflates, and
it?
you're like, well, why am I even reading it then?
Yeah.
Who cares? Like, whatever.
That, I think, is fine if the other plot points, characters are drawing you in.
Well,
right?
it'd be...
You can understand that the futility is like a theme of this book if you're buying into.
Well, it would be a theme if futility was the outcome, but he was like hyper motivated to get it done. Like if he was really struggling the whole time to do this one thing, and then for it all to be pointless, that would be one thing. But he just sort of doesn't really care for most of the time. Then he sort of does it, but whatever. And he's like, oh well, when we finish this, I'll just become a space pirate. It's like, what? Yeah. What does that have to do? That you're not going to carry on being in the war? Like, do you not really? He doesn't care.
He doesn't really hate the culture after all.
He doesn't even care. He doesn't even care. Whatever.
So why should we? Right?
Yeah. So why should we? And he's not the only crap character. Of course, he's sort of the linchpin.
Let's delve into the supporting cast a little bit here.
All 6,000 of them. So early on in the book, Hawser gets captured by this ship called the Clear Air Turbulence, and we're immediately introduced to all these characters, which are just like rejects from a Firefly kind of thing. That's kind of basically what they are.
Ship privateers.
Yeah, they're shit. They're ship privateers. But the problem is he does this technique which I really hate in all books that do it, where like he just like introduces about 13 characters in the space of 10 pages.
I think there might be more than that.
Well, I think it's said at the start there's 13 people on board.
Okay.
And then like he introduces them all and he's like, this is whatever. He is got shorts on.
Which I think is actually one of the distinguishing features.
They all wear shorts. That's one of the big
A couple
things.
of them have weird arms.
Yeah, one of them has weird arms.
And then there's like 3 clones.
Yeah, and there's 3 clones, but don't worry about remembering that because like almost immediately
half of them are going to die.
2/3 of these people die almost immediately because like the whole thing is like it's kind of like a slapsticky chain of fuck ups.
It is, isn't it? And that the tone is so weird because you get this sense that like it's quite traumatic for the people involved, but we don't know who these people are.
Yeah, we don't care. Like one of them's like screaming that one guy died. And I don't even remember who he is.
Yes,
exactly. Definitely now I can't.
One
remember
of them
who
commits
he was.
suicide, right?
One of them, commits suicide because someone she knew died.
Yeah.
And then like the 3 clones just sort of get lost.
And that's it.
And you never see him again. Never hear from him. No one thinks, should we go back for him? They just get lost and that's it.
Yeah, so really poor. I wanted to get into why this big cast of characters didn't work. Because it's not so much, I don't think, the number of characters. I think you and I have read a couple of books recently where big casts can be made to work in different ways. Let's compare this a little bit to Catch-22, which we both read recently and absolutely adored. Now, when I think back about Catch-22, I struggle to attribute certain characteristics to the characters.
You do.
You have quite a large cast. They're the various people in Isarian's regiment or whatever, right? But like, if you were to say to me, which ones have Maya, which ones all, which ones... Perhaps I would struggle to... So there is a little bit of a similarity, but when I'm reading it, I'm buying into these characters.
Yeah.
I understand their idiosyncrasies, and that's an important thing. The characters are idiosyncratic, not he wears shorts.
Yeah, well, that's the thing as well. Like, we really struggled to come up with a descriptor for any of these characters that wasn't he's a clone or this one is the woman one. Like with a Catch-22, like even if you don't put the name to the traits, you could still say there's a character that has these traits.
Yes.
And you can tell what his role in the story is. Like in this, there's a bloke who jumps off of an orbital and dies. I don't know who he is.
That's it.
And
Banks wanted to show that he understood that gravity would be different on an orbital to a planet.
Banks knew what centrifugal force was.
Yeah.
And this
so
guy
now someone had to die.
He had to write a guy in there to get killed. And enough characters make it to the end.
Even the 4 or 5? We probably have about half a dozen characters at the end, but there's some major or fairly major characters in that group. There's a handful of these other extras along at the end of the story, and even then, it's
there's like the guy.
There's an old guy.
There's an old guy.
There's
the
a woman
guy
who's religious, and there's a guy who likes trains.
And there's a guy who doesn't like to shoot laser guns.
Yes.
And then it ironically gets killed because his projectile gun blows up.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, I guess it's because he's like, I'm writing a war story, I've got to have cannon fodder.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, as we've just explained, Catch-22 literally is a story about the war.
Yeah.
Like, what's it?
I immediately thought of Aliens as well.
Yeah.
A lot of fodder in that. But the core cast, the people you remember, that group of people who survived to the end, we're very certain who they are and what their traits and what their role in the story is.
And that's like, because I did a video recently where I talked about some tips for getting into science fiction for people that don't read a lot of it. And one of the things I addressed was this idea of all these massive casts and stuff. And I was like, don't even worry about it. Because if the guy's important and you're meant to remember him, he'll come up enough times for you to remember him.
Yeah.
And if he isn't important, I mean, he's not important, so don't worry about it.
Absolutely.
So what was the importance of the guy with weird arms that Horsa has to, like, fight as an old man? Because he's, like, transformed himself into an old man at the start. And he has to, like, fight this guy. And he just does, and he wins.
Yeah.
And that, I think that fight scene is another sort of emblematic thing that goes wrong. It's not
the only one.
Outside of characterization, like the writing of action is so.
Before we dip into that, can I talk about one more character?
Yes, you can talk about one more character.
Balveda.
Oh God!
The culture agent in this. Now, as we move through the series, we're going to see a lot of special circumstances agents. Right, special circumstances is something like the Secret Service, MI5 or whatever in the culture. She's another really, really flat character.
She's the shit. She's just James Bond.
Yeah. She's just along for the ride. She's a prisoner for most of it. I do like the moment where she interacts with Anaha Kloss quite late on, and she's quite used to the drone, perhaps the agent drone double team, and the drone's going to have some secret plan. He's just like, I'm an engineer and I'm going to university.
And then she realises she's true.
She's fucked. Yeah. There's nothing to the character.
No.
And then, can we get into the spoiler at the end, or are we going to avoid that?
Which one?
Well,
I mean, we've already. I think we've already blown the lid off spoilers without giving any warnings.
No, that's fine. So she's just along for the ride.
Yeah.
And then at the end, when all our characters die, she just sort of wins.
She's alive.
Gets the mind.
Yeah, she doesn't even have to kill anyone.
Well, she kills the last Adiran.
Oh, yeah.
She has like a gun that was disguised as a tooth because culture.
Because culture, they can do that. I don't like how infallible Horsa is as well. Like, immediately, like there's this interesting sort of setup where she infiltrates his crew, and she's changed her appearance, but because he is a shapeshifter, he's like, oh, that's Balveda.
Yeah.
Like, what was the point? What was the point of that?
Because she needed to be there at the end for the culture to win.
And then, like, he
back.
just sort of like vac tubes all her gear into space because he's like, I know she's got a bomb.
Yeah.
And she does.
That's very true.
Like, all right, I guess this guy's unstoppable then.
Yeah. That's very poor.
So we'll talk about action scenes now because there's so many. Like, a lot of this book is set piece, I feel.
Yeah.
Like, so we start off.
Every chapter is almost a different set piece.
Yeah. So we start off with Horsa in a poo dungeon. Probably one of the worst openings.
Now this is. Remember that Banks was writing this in Thatcher's Britain.
That's true.
And
Britain was a poo dungeon under Thatcher. Confirmed.
So he's on a mission from the Adirans, somewhere called the Gerontocracy of Sorpen, right? Mm-hmm. And the idea is that in this particular society, all the old people rule, and they think it's really funny, in fact, to use their method of execution to literally drown you in their shit.
Yeah.
So perhaps that was a bit of a joke about the Tories in 1986, you know?
Yeah. The problem is, coming to it from a first-time perspective, without knowing the context, you don't learn anything about the gerontocracy other than that Horsa has become an old man.
Yeah.
And then he sort of is in chains immediately.
Well, the clue is in the name.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But you don't know what that means. Could be anything. Yeah, could literally be anything.
And it is just, why is this guy in a poo dungeon?
Yeah, why is he in a poo dungeon? Balvida's there, and she's got like a knife missile, and he's like, "This is the real leader of the culture." I'm like, "I don't think it is, mate. You've gone off on one there.
Yeah.
You're losing me, Horsa." Straight away. Like, it's that irrational hatred. But then he gets captured, and
he's busted out by
the Adirans. And there's like that scene that you get in a lot of sci-fi where the ship comes under attack, and they're like, he's like, "Get the weapons or whatever," and like this little lizard guy, and he's like, "Here, have a magic space suit.
Yeah.
Here's your gear." I'm like, "Fuck off."
I mean, this I don't think was done particularly badly.
Yeah,
it's every action scene after that.
Yeah,
this feels like quite quickly done.
Yeah,
it's quite well set up. Zoralundra, the Adiran officer, who's like shouting at his underlings about that. So far, there's been 16 clashes between this class of ship we're on and a culture GCU, and every single one of them has ended in defeat. Like, we're getting the fuck out of here. That was quite well set up. It's when they jettison Horsa and he's picked up by the clear air turbulence. Yeah. And now
what were they doing there? Just hanging out.
Just fucking about in the middle of a battlefield.
In the middle of a war zone. Yeah. That's fine. That's what you do.
I mean, they are established as the worst fucking pirates.
They are the worst free company in space, as we'll quickly learn. So he gets captured, and like this guy, Craiglin, or Cricklin, whatever you want to call him. So he tells Horsa that in order to stay, he has to like kill a bloke because it's overcrowded. So he has a fight with this guy with weird arms. That's all you can really say about him. He's got shorts on as well. That's his two key traits.
Quite young.
He's young. He's got long arms, and he's got shorts. I don't remember his name.
No,
don't care. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Anyway, so he just dies.
He doesn't just die because this fight scene.
Well, that's it, isn't it?
Drags on.
Yeah, he doesn't just die.
I don't really care about the particular details.
It's one of those. It's one of those things where, like, if Banks was a fight choreographer for a film, like this level of detail would probably be needed to block a scene out. But when you're telling a story, you just care about the story, and you lose a lot of the tension from the scene because it's just like Horsa punched him and his jaw went ooh, and then the other guy kicked him.
Tried to knee him,
he tried to knee and he missed.
Blocked it.
Yeah, and you're like get on with it. Like
for a few pages,
it goes on forever. Yeah. It goes on almost forever. I felt like time would end.
I don't think this is the worst one.
It's not the worst one. There's one that's much worse. So he kills, and that's sort of like the big problem is you lose a lot of the story beats because it's gotten into too much detail. And this is echoed later on where Horsa has a fist fight with Craiglin. And
whose identity he's now stealing.
Yeah, so Horsa like transforms into Craiglin. Almost because literally because he just can't think of anything else to do. Like he
doesn't even know if they're all alive anymore, does he? Because these two jobs they've been on have been so botched that. And so meanwhile, he's nearly been eaten by the fat guy.
Yeah, so like he's like floating in the middle of the sea, and then he thinks it literally says, he couldn't think of anything else to do, so he just transformed into Craiglin. What? I guess how would that help? Because it's set up that he's been planning to do this for a long time. But I mean, why though? Because he never tries to convince
steal the ship.
Yeah, but he never tries to convince Craiglin that it would be good for his reputation and his glory and his money to do this mission for the Adirans.
I think it could be quite lucrative, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
and again, if Horsa was better characterised, if he was like a true believer in the cause, or perhaps he's just really ruthless and selfish himself, he doesn't want to split the money with these guys. But none of that's true, so he
Yeah.
probably should have just sat down with him and said, got a
Yeah,
contract for
like
you, mate.
I've got a good job.
Yeah.
Like we could do this shit job that you want to do, or we could like make bank from being in the war. But he never even tries that, and that's like going back to why his character like doesn't try and do his mission really at any point. But like he immediately thinks, "Oh, I'll just take over and steal the ship." And he sort of learns a little bit about the systems, but then it all sort of goes wrong. So he does that for no reason, and then he meets Craiglin later because he just like encounters him again. In the
he suspects that if they're alive, he'll be at the damage game, which is at least set up earlier.
Yeah, so he goes and he catches up with him in like a landing strip that's filled with hovercrafts
coming in and out.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
I don't really know what that setting was.
Now I think this and the next action scene, which again is abominably long. A real slugfest read. I think both of these cinematically would have been pretty interesting to look at. Yeah. It's a book, mate.
But they share the same flaw. So the other action scene is I guess you're talking about when he's escaping
the ship
from the GSV.
Yeah.
So basically, what happens in this fight with Craiglin is they're having a fist fight, and a hovercraft goes over the top of them. And they're like fighting under it, and it like fucks them up because it's like a big air cushion,
like downdraft from the jet turbines.
So that was like a really interesting moment, like to add into a fight to make it more visually interesting than just having a fist fight. But then it happens like 3 more times, and then by the 3rd time, I was like, I really understand. These hovercraft are there. I don't need to know about it again, you know. And this happens with they go onto a ship because they've impounded the cat. Yeah. Well, they didn't impound it. They just took it there for repairs, right?
So the Culture has a GSV there. The GSV is these huge, like the biggest class of Culture ship or whatever, because they're evacuating the orbital because it's about to become part of the front line and all that stuff. The cat is just docked there, but when the Culture work out the hawsers there, they try to impound it, and they break out of the docks.
So then he just like fires lasers at the wall, and then he flies into an identical room, and then he does it again, and then he does it a 3rd time, but this time there's water behind it, and then he goes down a corridor, and there's some people in the corridor mucking about with anti-gravity harnesses.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they finally, after 4 or 5 pages of this, get outside.
I think it's longer than 4 or 5 pages.
It probably is. Probably like a whole chapter, isn't it?
It's almost
They're
like
chased for a
10 pages.
And he blows up the...
Well, he drops Balvida's bomb out, and the bomb like prevents the police from pursuing him, which is another reason Balvida is the shittest Culture agent. So like, I mean, that happens.
I had bad memories of that chapter, even when I thought more fondly of this book.
Yeah.
I skim read a lot of that chapter.
I skim read almost all of the book from that point on.
Yeah, you did, didn't you?
Like, I really power read through the last 6 chapters or so, because I was just so sick of everything that was happening. So then we get to the command system. So he lands on this planet, Sharswell. It's a planet of the dead, and it's explained that certain regions of space and certain planets have been cordoned off by the Drazon. And they're I don't really know what they are. They're like some energy alien.
You will see more of this in other Culture books. The idea that certain species reach a point where they do something called subliming. They just sort of make the transition out of matter into some sort of energy.
So this is where L. Ron Hubbard comes in.
It is actually, isn't it?
So L. Ron Hubbard has secured this planet for, I guess, for the soul of Tom Cruise. I would say again,
this is like a lot of stuff that happens in this book. It's very early world building, like building those bricks up of what things we're going to see in other Culture books. But again, fairly poorly executed because it's hyped up that the Drazon are going to be
Yeah.
Pissed off about people interfering in Char's world because they're monuments.
But they're not.
But it doesn't really seem to care, does it?
Yeah. Well, he's like,
The reason the Adherents need Horza to go there is his people are allowed to have a little, like...
Yeah, they've got like a station
research
there.
station or whatever there.
And they're
so
allowed
the
to,
Adherents and the culture can't just
caretaker.
steam in and grab the mind because it will piss off this, like, godlike race of beings.
But it turns out if you just ask him, can I go and get it? He's like, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Go on then. I mean, I guess the Drazon's nickname is Mr. Adequate, so maybe he's like a really shit.
He could just be.
He's a shit manager.
Yeah.
Like he's like, yeah, all right. I'm not bothered. If only Horza knew that from the start, he should have told.
Was the
Zora
implication
Lundra.
that the Drazon knew everyone was going to die, and that this would be another monument?
Is there really an implication of that? I mean,
I don't know. I'm
whatever.
just throwing things out there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I mean, because I really wasn't paying much attention to this.
No,
part of
that's
the book.
true. That's true.
So, I mean, I guess that could have happened, but it would, if it did, it was padded in so much action nonsense. Because and then we get more action scenes. So there's 2 Adherents alive on Char's world because they landed previously.
They tried to like trick
the
Drazon and send a little raiding party down, and it went badly.
Well, it kind of went badly, but not really, because everyone is dead apart from them. And if they could find the mind, they would have just won.
Yeah.
Because the Drazon, he didn't do anything about that.
Once they got through,
he just sort of let them be there and fuck shit up. He didn't retaliate. And Horza has a girlfriend that he mentions in like chapter 2. He's like, oh, it'd be interesting to see her again. I didn't really love her.
Yeah. And again, there's nothing here.
Yeah.
No.
And then he finds her corpse and he's like, oh, that's sad.
Yeah. I mean, that almost is the extent of it, isn't it?
Yeah. But then so the last 4 chapters of this book, the command system is like these tunnels underneath the planet that are I guess they were holdouts from a nuclear war.
Yeah, so everyone died in some sort of chemical weapon attack on this planet, which is why it's been made a planet of the dead. But they were built, they were like one of the nation states on the planet built this bunker system to defend from nuclear attacks.
Yeah, and so they're in there, but then they have to just sort of walk down identical looking tunnels. Like if this was a video game, it would be the shittest level. It's just identical scenery.
You couldn't picture anything interesting.
Well, yeah, it's because it's literally described as concrete tunnels.
Yeah.
Through concrete tunnels, and the Adherents are there, and I guess they don't want to help Horza. They're like, oh, we're zealots. But why?
Not useful, is it?
That doesn't even make sense.
It's characterization of the Adherents as being that antithesis of the culture.
Yeah.
And perhaps the self-defeating nature of their kind of power.
Because that would have
been...
I
can grasp for an idea here, I think.
Because I guess that would have been the if Horza had an arc, this would be the culmination of that arc where he meets up with the people that he's had this blind faith in the whole time, and then realizes that really they're fucking mental,
and they think he's an animal.
Yeah, and
he's not one of them.
Exactly. And then he could come around to this idea of a more live and let live kind of attitude towards the culture, but he never does get that. Yeah. He never draws a parallel between the Adherents.
The piece is there to have the culmination of an arc. It's just the character has never moved.
Yeah, He's not ready to culminate his arc because he's not started it yet. And then we get to the appendices, which we've talked about briefly already. Yeah. So there's a really interesting idea in the appendices where a lot of the culture citizens demanded that they be stored until the war could statistically be proven to be a good idea. Yeah. So that's one of the interesting sort of glances of the culture that you get is that hyper utilitarian, everything is rationalised by numbers kind of thing without much of a
at the same time humanistic and ethical in a way that utilitarianism in our world perhaps isn't.
Yeah.
it's not quite as cold.
Hmm.
So I think that's something interesting to grasp at there.
Would the culture solve a trolley problem?
I mean, that's sort of the question.
Would
isn't it?
Would you flip a switch if one side was war and the other side was the death of all your mates?
Yeah.
Like, there's that kind of thing. So
I think I enjoyed the appendices.
Yeah,
getting into the philosophy of it. One of the things I find really cool is that the culture of Deer and War was basically going on in our 13th century.
Okay.
Which was just an interesting little, what's the word? Like, just throwing up that discrepancy of how we think of science fiction.
And it's interesting as well that obviously in the culture universe, the humanity doesn't originate at Earth in that case. Because obviously there's what we would consider to be, well, what are described as human.
I think in the culture stories, Banks uses human to encompass a whole sort of pan-humanistic thing. The implication is never that like humans as a species were seeded everywhere.
Yeah, it's more like it's that humanoid body type. It's the aliens with the ridge foreheads.
Yeah.
Like, Klingons would be human and Banks as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting because some of the culture can blend for human, though, because we see that in later books. So
I mean, we'll really get into this in later books. The culture, like technology, is so advanced in this. This actually is perhaps a bit of a criticism of the series, is that it's almost godlike, right?
Yeah.
Like, what we think of as humans in the culture can appear physically to be almost anything. Up to like characters that for a fashion will float around looking like a cloud for a bit.
Yeah.
So
do you think it undermines some of the political stance of the culture to have it be in such a technologically advanced post-scarcity society? Because we kind of see the culture as this utopia where everything just works. But if you transferred the values of the culture to a world that relies on economy and scarcity and where everything, like, people can't just do whatever they want, it would all fall apart.
Yeah, I mean, I perhaps think that Banks's thesis here is that post-scarcity and the utopian ideals go hand in hand. And he did write sort of essays on how he saw that developing over time and how it was related to sort of the frontier lifestyle in space and things like that. He said that he thought humans, as in us, were too psychotic to ever achieve it.
Yeah.
But he sort of posited how it might happen. I don't think you can separate the two in the culture. That idealism has to go hand in hand.
And I guess you can, because the culture have that sort of post-scarcity thing, but I don't think there's a huge implication that societies outside of the culture have the same thing. Like, because there's different societies in the galactic community that have different levels of tech advancement. So would it be fair to say that some of the stuff with, like, Horsa can't understand how the culture works as a thing that would be sustainable because he's like coming from changes which are like a dying species as it is.
Yeah.
They like live on an asteroid. I don't think they can genofix themselves to do anything. So like, I guess he doesn't really have the comprehension of it works because there's like this underpinning of the technology is so advanced.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's probably true. I think it's fair to say that in this book the Adirans are probably on a par with them technologically. It's just how the society's set up. I mean, otherwise, because at this stage in the war, the culture's been retreating for years.
Yeah.
It's very clearly a tactic they're using, this burnt earth thing, while they like move over to war production and things like that. If there was this huge gulf in tech, then that probably never would have happened. I think it's fair to say we'll encounter other societies on the same level as them.
Yeah.
But I suppose Banks's point here is that philosophically one has to be committed to that kind of lifestyle. to go along with the post-scarcity thing.
Yeah.
If one's sort of like ideological or philosophical concepts don't approve of that or seek something else in life, then the society's not going to be modelled that way.
And the big question is that I have going forward is, are the people, are the minds that are in control of the culture deliberately hamstringing a lot of people's understanding of how things work in order to keep them naive enough to go along with this utopian ideal? And that is a question I think that is explored in Player of Games, which I think could be our segue.
I think so.
Get on your little bike thing, segue. So Player of Games.
Joe Bluth thing, isn't it?
The Joe Bluth thing, the segue. So, Player of Games is the second book in the Culture series. In this book, we follow Gergi.
I'm going to go with Gerge.
Jurga?
Could be Gerge, couldn't it?
Could be Gerge. Gerge.
Oh, no.
Lots of pronunciations for this one.
How do the Azardians say it when it gets there? Gergi. Gergi.
Yeah.
Who knows? Take your pick.
Because every time they pronounce it, he says they butchered that.
Yeah.
So you know that's not one. You like by the
gives you
process
an
of elimination.
indication of I don't know.
Yeah. So he is a guy who has devoted his entire life to playing games.
He is a player of games. He is the player of games.
He is the player of games.
He's like so culture naming conventions. His middle name Morat is the player of games.
Yeah,
right? Like his chosen title, as it were.
So he is like the best StarCraft player.
Yeah,
he's top tier Fortnite streamer. All of this he would be in today and age. But he hates video games.
Would he not still? Yeah, because he hates video games.
Yeah,
essentially, doesn't he?
He
hates paintball.
He hates
sci-fi paintball.
He hates sci-fi paintball.
He's more of like
a board game player,
a sort of chess grandmaster of the highest caliber.
He would be like number one Wizards of the Coast,
Magic
the Gathering player. He's that level. So he's just living his life in the culture on an orbital, which is, and we didn't explain earlier, the culture they're not planet based as a society. Like they've got two forms of.
They do have some planets in there.
Okay,
but primarily
they live on either GSVs, which are these giant ships, and I like to think when I see GSV, I always think giant ship vehicle.
Oh, nice.
That's what that means, in my opinion. So he doesn't live on one of those, but he lives on an orbital, which is essentially Halo. Like the ring from Halo would be an orbital. So he is just living his life on that.
Because they're far more efficient.
They're far more efficient.
It's that use of space, it's that utilitarian thing again. There's an elegance that the minds find in an orbital that a planet is just too crass.
Planets, earthquakes happen. Yeah. Rubbish, not controllable. And one character wants to put volcanoes on an orbital in this book, which is quite brilliant. So he's living his life on the orbital, and he gets approached by this drone called Morin Skell, who tricks him basically into cheating at a game. And he records it and blackmails him.
Yeah, which is unheard of in the culture.
Yeah.
Gerge almost reacts.
He's like, is that even possible?
Yeah, like what are you talking about?
He has to explain it to him.
Yes, I think he actually has to say there's an old word for this.
Yeah,
it's called
blackmail. Yeah. So he blackmails Gerge into like revealing this. So he's like, well, you have to get me back into special circumstances, because Morin Skell is a drone that was like decommissioned from special circumstances.
Yeah, he's somewhat unhinged.
Yeah.
There's an element of chance in the creation of the AI personalities, and obviously for like a special agent or a military drone, you want that sort of aggression and things like that. But Morin Skell's come out a bit unhinged.
Yeah, he's a bit mad. One
of the first scenes you see him in, they're at like a garden party at some university, and a bird like crashes into like a field window or something, and he just starts dissecting it in front of everyone and creeping them all out.
Yeah, and like I think it's like described as like he just like floats off to go and piss someone else off.
Yeah,
just because he's just an arsehole, basically. So they like didn't want him in special circumstances, so they said, you know, you can have your personality redone. Like we'll re-roll more in scale of the character, or you can like be as you are, but you can't have any of your weapons, and you just have to fuck off.
Yeah.
And so he chooses to do that. But he hates it. He resents it. So he wants to get back into special circumstances. Gurgi, like, he agrees to this, but he doesn't really think he'll ever have to.
He doesn't really understand.
Yeah, he's not sure how
he's going to do. Or...
Yeah. So he agrees because this other drone shows up.
Well, he's already like made.
He's already been approached
to Contact.
Yeah.
And the line between Contact and SC is generally blurred in these books. Contact in the first book was described as the culture. It had become the culture's military, where SC had become its like special forces, or espionage section, I should say. Contact, as the name suggests, is like the people on the frontier who are contacting less developed civilizations and things like that.
Contact is very much like the Starfleet, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like they go out and explore, and they make contact with new societies and whatever, and they observe and study them. So he approaches like a drone that he knows called Amokne.
Yeah. Now I love the relationship between these two drones. I think that we really we saw it a little bit with Anaha Closp in that first book, and it's something we praised. One of the few things we praised about it, and it really comes out in this. The like very distinctive personalities that these AIs have. They're like the way these two, because Amalkne is more of a sort of old-timey civilian drone, very prim and proper, and they kind of like butt heads a lot.
I could imagine
in quite witty ways.
I could imagine Amokne being like old conservative peer. like he's just like, oh, these kids.
Definitely.
So he's got like friends in Contact, I guess, and that's never really explored why, but.
He's old.
So he's got friends in Contact, and like Gurgi's like, can you just like, he's bored.
We should say, we should establish right now, Gurgi is very bored of his life. He's kind of incredibly dissatisfied with games. He's constantly bombarded with offers to like lecture here or write an article about this, and
he's like, nah,
I'm just not going to do that.
Not feeling it.
Yeah.
And he can't do paintball. That's rubbish. So he decides that he's going to like get these military contacts, and he's like, "Do you have anything for me to do? Because I'm really bored." And then like this drone approaches him with like the worst pitch, which is quite.
So we want you to do something. I can't tell you what it is.
Yeah,
it might take about 5 years.
He doesn't even say that. He says, "Are you willing to travel?" And he goes, "Maybe, but for how long?" And he's like, "No, how are you willing to travel?" And then he's like, "Well, I guess for like 6 months." And he's like, "Right," and he just
floats off.
He just fucks off, and then he's like, Gurgi's like, "I've just blown it." Damn, I've blown it. That was it. But he's like that. I love that drone because he like uses everyone's full names all the time.
Yeah.
And he's just like really ostentatious. But we don't like ever see him again.
That's
do we?
it, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't. So we see him. I've got a theory about him, by the way.
Okay.
Which we'll discuss later. So he fucks off, and Gurgi like turns it down, and then he gets blackmailed, and then he decides to take them up on the offer because it'll give him leverage to get Thingy Morris Scout back into SC.
Yeah.
So then he finds out that basically there's a galactic empire in another part of space that
a really long way away.
Yeah, really long way away. That basically their whole imperial model is built around this one game.
Their whole society, everything.
Their whole society,
to put it briefly, they hold the tournament every 5 years or whatever. The winner of the game is the emperor.
So whoever, basically Yu-Gi-Oh! Would be the emperor of Azad. And it's like it's really interesting how fundamentally tied to everything that this game is, like to the point where they name the Empire after the game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the Empire of Azad, and the game is called Azad, which means system or machine.
Or machine.
Yeah. It's sort of loosely defined. So Gurgi fucks off from the orbital to go and play this game, and it all goes sort of downhill for him from there, basically. So what were some of your highlights from Player of Games?
I love this book. I don't know where to start because I want to kind of structure this in a certain way, but let's talk a bit about language and reality in this book. Gurgi, the longer he spends in Azad, the longer he spends not interacting with culture citizens, the longer he spends not speaking Moraine, the longer he's invested in the game, he begins to think more and more like them. Way you see that sort of symbiosis or something that's going on. And he's got that drone with him, Flirim Saho. And again, I love the relationship between these two. Flirim Saho is a library drone that's been given to him to like translate.
Yeah, he's
things.
essentially a C-3PO.
Yeah.
He's human cyborg relations.
And he's constantly pissed off because the culture are trying to hide how advanced they are. From the Azadians. So he's like encased in this like giant Hoover machine and like has to make static and weird noises.
He has to constantly hum.
They have a great relationship where the drone is like prissy and Gurgi's winding him up constantly. But actually, as the narrative unfolds and Gurgi's drawn more and more into this game and this society, Flirim Saho is kind of, you see the role that he was actually there for, which is to keep Gurgi
to pull him back
from that precipice. Banks is he's doing what he did with the Adirans much better. He's drawing those comparisons and satirizing, I suppose, like power relations and things like that in a society that is the antithesis of the culture.
And it's an interesting point that you made about Moraine, because basically it's kind of suggested that, because Moraine was like a language that was made by the mines, right? So it's kind of implied that the use of Moraine keeps people like in the mindset of, because it's like a really elegantly designed language that like no mind has ever been able to improve upon. So it's like kind of the way that Azad controls the Empire, like Moraine controls the culture. Because as soon as he starts speaking Moraine again, he's like, "Oh, I'm suddenly feeling a lot calmer and more liberal again." That's interesting.
It lacks concepts of power. Like he literally has to be lectured by Flirim Saho and the ship that's taking him there on things like gender relations, ownership of property. Like the people in like contact would understand this because it's their job, but you really see how like a culture civilian. These are just like alien concepts to him. He's like a child in a way. Like, he has to be socialised in order to like play a role in this society.
Because the Azadians have 3 genders.
We should say
is a male, a female, and an apex.
Or like intermediate.
It's like an intermediate. It's like a hermaphroditic kind of gender, but they refer to as the apex because I guess like they're the ones that are in control in the society. But like Gurgi doesn't get what he means by there's a dominant gender. Like because in the culture you can change your gender at will. So it's really like it's totally pointless.
Which we're introduced to almost immediately when he leaves. I think he gets the letter from Chamnus about the lecturer at the uni. Who's going one way or the other now. I think he's becoming a woman because he wants to have a kid again.
There's like one character who likes being pregnant.
So
he's like constantly being like going from man to woman. To suit depending on his needs.
So a lot of that stuff's really well set up. Just sort of casually, in that letter he heard about the gender thing, and now he's thrown into a society where
that doesn't.
Not only is that not scientifically possible, but the ideological conditions preclude it.
Well, it's interesting because Flirim Saho, I think, like mentions that it had been within their grasp, that technology, for generations, but it's forbidden.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
Because like the ideology just doesn't permit for it,
Yeah.
even though it's possible. And that's what we were saying, like that the ideology and the technology goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Like they have to actively hamstring one, because the only reason to forbid something is because people wanted to do it, I guess.
Yeah. Definitely.
So we get a lot of interesting characters on Azad. The guy who like the emissary that they culture have sent, Tsar.
Oh God.
So we're introduced to this guy who like he's been there for like 9 years or so.
Yeah, he's the ambassador. But
he's
not
basically
in any way
some
that you...
he's basically some mental bohemian who's like I think he's described as having a man bun.
I don't remember that, but
I think
quite
he might.
possibly,
Like he's like wears a loose fitting robe and he has a man bun. He's like a hippie.
Constantly drunk. He's like getting these ridiculous cocktails made up. He takes Gergely out to some like seedy nightclub at one point in the middle of the story.
That was a brilliant scene because like it's like Gergely's worst day because it's like he almost gets killed. He almost gets blackmailed again.
Almost gets blackmailed again. Yeah.
And the guy is like, "Come on, man! Like we got
was
drunk,
fun.
we ran away, we had a
got
fight.
laid. There was a fight.
We had a fight. We won. It was the best day." But yeah, it's like brilliant. And then so like he's been there and he's talking about how like the previous person from the culture they sent lasted in the role for about 3 days. Because they like immediately got caught up in a scandal.
Oh, he slept with like a minister's wife or something, didn't he? Yeah.
And I think it's an interesting thing because we learn later on that Tsar is not from the culture. Mm-hmm. He's an attaché. Like they hired him. He's like a mercenary.
He's effectively a mercenary.
Yeah. But I think that was a really interesting twist because it kind of is seeded that a culture person with the ideals of the culture would not survive in that society. Mm-hmm. And like they tried it and it went really badly.
Yeah.
So they were like, we're just going to hire this fucking nutter from outside
to
be our ambassador.
But he understands. Yeah. That's another thing you're going to see a lot more of in the next book as well, actually.
Good. I'm glad. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
So the Azadians themselves are... I guess they're not as interesting in a lot of ways, like from like they are kind of like forehead ridge aliens in the sense that they're humanoid.
But
they're humanoid,
particularly light skinned, I think.
Yeah, like they're like
maybe
squat.
Weird eyes
They're like stubby.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So there's nothing particularly visually interesting going on there. I think it's all about. They're an absurd version of sort of 20th century, 21st century Earth, aren't they?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I looked up some pictures on Google of like art of Azadians, and all of the art depicted them with weird arms. And I don't remember them being described. No, they have like in the pictures they have like these really long arms with backwards hands.
Maybe we're so traumatised by the guy with long arms in Consider Phlebas.
Maybe everyone is.
We just blotted that out.
Yeah. Any description of weird arms is out. Like no one in the culture has weird arms.
I think one of my other highlights from this book is the way that Banks describes the game, because he skirts around the edges. It obviously. A game that is so complex that it represents... It feels a bit like chess, but like 8D chess.
Yeah.
With like philosophical concepts. There are like supplementary card games. There's various boards all going on at different times and different days. He never really tries to lay out the rules, which would be impossible.
We don't have an Azad rulebook.
Yeah.
You couldn't play it at home.
But skirting around the edges of it, he does a really good job, I think, of presenting an immensely complicated game in a way that you can grasp strongly enough to follow what's going on.
Yeah, like you understand the purpose of it, if not the function.
Yeah.
Like you don't understand, because like he's talking about how like I've got these like pieces and they're like biological. Some pieces are and they like evolve.
Yeah,
and you don't really get what they do, but you're not meant to. Like
Yeah.
they're symbolic game pieces essentially, and
what we see there is the game as an expression of philosophy as well as tactics.
Yes.
Which is like a big thing in the meta story that sort of culminates in the final act of the book. But it also takes place quite a lot during individual matches.
Yeah.
So he talks about like group matches where you have like 10 players all at the same time, and like if the Empire worked together, they would just kick out this alien whose like ideals they detest and all that. But you'll often find like army men and navy men, like I should say Appendices, right? But it's we don't have 3 genders, so I revert to men. But they'll like fight against each other while Gurgay just like sits back and does nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And it's you see how like the culture has a sort of unity of purpose despite its boundless freedom.
And like Gurgay comes to the realization later on that if no one showed aggression towards his pieces in the game, like he would be content to just sit and expand gently and never really interfere with their stuff. And that's like one of the strengths that he finds, like because like he basically builds himself up so much while they're all fighting, and then like he just like curb stomps them later when they come knocking. But I think it's you mentioned the word culminate, and that's something that this book has is arcs that culminate in things. So like at the beginning of the story, like Gurgay it's like seeded that he's got a bit of an arrogant streak in him, from like especially compared to a typical culture person, because like his whole life has been devoted to playing games and winning, and like this desire for conquest, kind of that doesn't really come up in other culture civilians. And this is sort of expressed early on where he's trying to get laid with this woman he knows. And she, like, in typical culture fashion, will sleep with almost anyone, but not him. And the reason she gives for not wanting to sleep with him is because it's important to him that he does it.
It means so much to him that it is like another game. Like, there's a like oddly possessive tweak in a society that doesn't recognise possession. Right?
Exactly. And then like that is sort of enhanced on later when he accidentally like gets perceived as cheating by this guy on a train, like at a game, and he wasn't cheating, but he was like, oh this is awkward,
embarrassed,
and it's like the bit of social embarrassment. But then that leads to him like being offered the chance to make a name for himself in this. Like he's already got a massively overhyped reputation.
He's the closest thing perhaps to a celebrity in a society like this, because of his reputation as the player of games.
Exactly. And then like he's playing a game with this like a prodigy from a GSV, and he gets a chance to like win in a really unique way. That's like the perfect victory. And then like he can see that it's really close, but it would require like basically to be psychic in order to pull it off. And then that's how Morin Skell blackmails him, because he says, I can see I can just tell you how to do it. And then you can be the first guy. And then Gurgay's like, that's, not really what it's about. And then Morin Skell kind of plays on that culture. Like it's almost a superiority in the culture itself. Because he says, is it more important who does it or that someone from the culture has done it? And then Gurgay's like,
it's only ever been done as like an exhibition thing, right? To prove that it mathematically this could be done on this board. This perfect game.
But and then Gurgay's like, he goes along with it. Like, I think that's like, it's not like when Horza does something and he just does it because, like, it's not when he turns into Craiglang because he couldn't think of anything else to do. It's because like it's that sort of drive where like he's kind of bored where he is.
He has a motivation. He has a challenge to overcome, and he
takes an opportunity to do it.
Journey to do that.
And then
really classic. Really basic writing stuff, really, and then it's the execution is where the good stuff comes out.
It's a very tried and true plot structure, It's very hero's journey. Like he goes to this place of unfamiliarity. He grows from his experience. He realizes a truth about himself and the situation he's in that allows him to then return to where he was as a changed person. And that change is when Fleer Saho shows him like the forbidden military bands, like the entertainment bands.
Now this is my highlight of the book. This and perhaps the final act of game with the Emperor. I didn't just want to dive into that when you first asked me because I felt like we needed to set this up a bit. Yeah. And it begins with Fleer Saho taking him on the tour of Grosnicek, the Azadian capital, showing him the slums and the hospitals and alcoholism and
like a guy getting kicked to death in the street.
It's like a street gang in sort of like pseudo military uniform. You get like a brown shirt vibe to it, right? They're like kicking some guy to death while a crowd watches, and you really see the like ugliness of that society that Gergely has been kept away from because he sees the sort of like
because up to
the
this
somewhat
point,
noble elite as game players.
Yeah, exactly. Like up to this point, he's been rubbing elbows with the pinnacle of the society because the best players in the game are obviously the higher echelons of society.
Yeah.
And now he's getting exposure to this other side because I guess he's like been what he's been told is that everything about this society is about this game, but what he's then being shown is that there's this whole other part of the society outside of the game that is completely different, and like, it's so unused to anything he's used to.
And it's what they tried to prepare him for in those lectures, but it's not something he could actually, even if he's sort of given that abstract idea of power and ownership and class systems and all this sort of thing. He has to go through that process of being led through it, and it's a really, really powerful scene.
It is, and it fundamentally changes his character because it's like I described it to you as it's a very Lovecraftian idea where like he's sort of the veil has been pulled back, and now he sees the secret truth of the universe, which the culture, like the civilians in the culture, don't understand, and like he now knows this thing, and it fucks him up.
Yeah,
like in a big way. It really changes. Like because when like he plays a game immediately after this with like a general, or like it's like he plays a judge,
and it's important, right? Because you get that flip at the end where the judge suddenly realizes that the alien, like he can't read him. It's like something something's changed.
Yeah,
and he thinks is. Like for a while, he's reminded of like prisoners that he sent to death, and suddenly, he understands. He sees for the first time what it was to be judged, and sentenced by someone else.
Yeah, and like Gergely's inner monologue during that game is like it's explaining how he's really happy to be fucking ruining this guy. At this point, like he's like taking that revenge, he feels that justice,
and he doesn't say a word the whole day. Right? He's just there, and he's taking all of this trauma really out on the like player. That
and it's bad for this judge because he made a bet that he would be sterilised if he lost.
Yeah, they thought the wimpy.
Yeah, the wimpy
liberal culture
would
guy
be really put
wouldn't
off by
take
that.
the physical like mutilation bet.
Yeah.
So
but of course, what they don't understand is that in a culture you can regrow pretty much anything.
It's just like okay, I'll turn off my nerves for a bit, and then the ship will grow me a new cock.
Yeah, and like Gergely's like, well, the genitals. He's like the gonads are one of the quicker regrowing organs, so I guess it's okay. But obviously in a society where gender is everything, like that's a really big deal because like he can't, because as an apex, like he won't be an apex anymore. Essentially, he can't hold his job. He'll lose his family, like his status and everything. So it's a big deal for him. But even then, like
Gergely was on the cusp of losing, right? In that game when Fleer Saho takes it out. It is simultaneously motivation to win the game, and you need to realise what this society really is. It's the pivotal moment in the book, I think.
Yeah.
Both as that narrative fulcrum and just as a really, really resonant, emotional scene to read. Like, it's quite difficult, actually.
Yeah, it was pretty hard to get through. Like, I don't remember, because like when I first read Player of Games, like I think my initial impression was like, this is a fun romp about a guy playing games.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of went into it with that mentality in this read. And then, like, when I got to that bit, I was like, oh, this is messed up.
Yeah.
Like, there's some real dark shit in here. And I guess, like, that's a Banks staple.
Yeah.
Is having this messed up stuff. Like, you kind of get it with the, like, Doomsday Man-Eater cult, but it's kind of too goofy to really land as an impact. But this was really, like, ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh. And then he, like, spends all his time watching videos.
He's constantly watching the
tortured.
decrypted, like, torture videos that only the Emperor and his cronies can usually see. Yeah.
And then, I guess then we come to, like, the final game, which is the culmination of this arc.
So first of all, let's talk a little bit about Gerge's expectations coming in. The Azadians' expectations coming in of how well he's going to do.
And how those expectations were manipulated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess the special circumstances seed it, like, they sell it to Gergi that, like, he's not going to do that well.
I think he'll do all right.
Yeah.
And
I think they tell him that they reckon he'll get knocked out in the first round.
No, I think they say, we think you can reach the level of, like, maybe a bishop or a lieutenant or something like that. It, sort of mid-management somewhere in the game before you're knocked out. Then it's sort of hinted to him when he arrives there that SC have set him up. He hasn't got. These people have been immersed in the game their whole lives. He's going to go out in the first round, and it's all a ruse to convince the Azadians not to worry about the culture. Yeah, like, this is our best game player, and he's fucking useless. Right?
But then it turns out that I guess they didn't, because then, like, when he's talking to Tsar, isn't he? Like, because like SC, like, Fleur and Saho tells them that that's what they've told the Azadians, that he's rubbish. And then, like, when he's talking to Tsar later on, like, he's like, no, man, they've been, like, hyping you up.
That's right. The press have been talking about how good he is.
That he's like a fucking legend. And it's kind of like this, like, he's like, I don't know, because Gergi doesn't know. He kind of realises that he's being played, but he doesn't know in which way.
Yes.
And he still doesn't really until right at the end. And that's, I guess, where it culminates in this final game. Because he gets really, like, he gets to the end, he gets to the final round of the tournament. He's playing the Emperor-elect, essentially. And he basically ends up crushing him.
He does. It does. After going through this sort of weird week-long game trance of, the descriptive language in this is great, where, like, Gerge, it's like everyone else is a fucking rube. Me and Nikosar, like the Emperor Regent, we understand this like beautiful, complex thing dance. We've created, this beautiful dance. Yeah, and he's actually broken when he realizes he's won. Yeah, but it's still a few moves ahead, right, or whatever. And he's broken that it has to end, and he's like immensely disappointed in the Emperor for not seeing it as well at precisely the same moment. I love that. He has become Azad, the machine, the system, right? He's completely engrossed in it now. He literally spends his time watching Azadian torture channels and playing this game. Yeah,
that's like all he does for 5 years. And that's like one of the things, right? Like because they're questioning him, like, how long have you really been studying this game? And he's like, no, really, like a few years. Yeah, and they're like, that's impossible. But it's like, he's tapped into the secret reality of the universe. Like, he sort of has understood the game as it is supposed to be. Like, it's because he realizes that his game style is a perfect representation of the way the culture works as a society. Because he's been so, like, analytical of Azadian culture, he understands that that's what the Nikosar's pieces
He's playing
represent.
his art. Yeah.
So Gurgi sort of understands that, and he sees the game on an elevated level. He's like, this is the truest form of communication. This is the truest expression of all ideas. This is how things should be. And then he presents that idea to Nikosar, and he's like, "You're a fucking idiot. It's just a game, and I want to be the emperor."
I really enjoyed his nervous breakdown
Yeah.
at the end. Nikosar, who fucking punches Gurgi on the parapet, and then drags everyone out of their beds for the last day.
And Gurgi's because he knows it's over, and the ship doesn't even realise that it's over, does it? At first, because Gurgi's
well, it says that, but
then no, because
it is still a mind, and we find out that special circumstances had probably banked on this happening, right? So
yes, but at
the ship at that point the ship doesn't.
Yeah, at that point, well, he says "Oh, yeah, I think Nikosar could probably do it, but no human brain has the capacity to ever pull it off." So basically, the whole culmination of it is this arrogant ideology of the culture being this unstoppable behemoth, and that idea has been proved now to the Azadians through the game, and because the game is so fundamental to their society, essentially society just collapses overnight.
Well, you know what's interesting about this? It's even a little bit more subtle than that. He's been undermining the game and hence the society as he advances through the stages, but the finals are played on another planet, right? That ceremonially they take them elsewhere, and they explain to him that however he does now, the media will report back home that he's lost, right? And they're faking the semi-finals and the final and playing it all out. So for the society at large, it needn't happen, but it falls apart precisely because it's an empire.
Yeah,
and the emperor's ego is so bruised that he goes mad. Essentially, first of all, his mentor goes mad and tries to assassinate Gurgi.
Does he try and assassinate?
Yeah, because they take over the Star Marshal's exoskeleton prison and try and kill him. Which, slight detour, action scenes in this, punchy,
very
quick,
brief,
to the point,
very brief.
Great.
They present the story.
Yeah.
And it's worth saying for people that can't see the books in front of them that Player of Games is probably 200 pages shorter than Phlebas, and I think most of that is because the action scenes aren't in it. There's a scene where he gets attacked by some insurgents at a press rally
over in seconds,
and it's Tsar broke one of their necks, and
Fhlebas got out of the way.
He fucked off. He flew up. But it's later revealed that Fhlebas Saho is an SC drone.
So let's get on to the culmination now. We were talking about that final game and Nikosar's breakdown and everything. It's revealed at the end, right at the end, where basically Nikosar's ordered this massacre because he knows he's lost the game. All the Azadian nobles are being shot by the security services. And he goes to kill Gurgi, and suddenly Fhlebas Saho is revealed all along, rather than the stuffy library drone who goes bird watching every night, has been a special circumstances military drone the whole time.
And there's a brilliant bit of foreshadowing for that. There's my favourite line from Fhlebas Saho is if they ever mess with the culture, we'll show them what mean is. If they ever fuck with the culture.
You suddenly get that moment.
And then it's Gurgi's
that was a bit strong.
Yeah, it's a bit. He's a bit.
You do see that bit, which was nicely done. And the reason for all of this is that special circumstances suspected or knew all along that Gurgi was going to win this game and bring this empire down. And this, now we get into what special circumstances do, right? They are contact special circumstances division, right? This is when you've contacted a society, it's so politically, ideologically against what the culture stands for, that we're going to find a way to topple this
Yeah.
whole thing and rebuild it how we
before
want.
it becomes a problem.
Yeah. And then obviously something I really loved about this sort of culmination, the reveal, the conversation he's having with Flerum Saho is the moment where Gurgi suddenly questions if his whole life was really just a special circumstances conspiracy. Because he's like, hold on a sec, I'm 70 odd or whatever he is.
Yeah.
And when did you say you discovered Azad? And it's like, 70 years ago. But
Don't think about that.
I know what you're thinking.
Yeah, don't think
but we
about
didn't
that.
just mould your entire life to bring down this empire.
Oh, that was the point I was going to make. So, Gurgi, through playing this game, has come up against the Star Marshal, their chief of justice.
Mm-hmm.
And one by one, he's beaten them.
Mm-hmm.
So I got that feeling that SC had engineered it so that he would remove these powerful people from their posts. Because if they did have to go in guns blazing, the leader of their fleet's gone.
Yeah.
Their law and order system has now been fundamentally undermined. All of these powerful people have sort of lost their position in society.
Yeah.
Through their losses in this game. And isn't there's that one guy who he's been bigged up and he just has the worst day. And Gurgi just crushes him.
That was kind of cool, actually. It's just Gurgi didn't think that Azad was the kind of game you could have an off day with.
But it turns out you can.
Everyone's raving about this guy and he just has a shit game.
Yeah, and he just destroys it. And it's he's and then there's a conversation afterwards. It's after that performance, I don't think he's going to get a very good rank ever again. It's a very interesting thing. But then Gurgi goes back to the culture, and he's fundamentally changed now. Yeah, and there's what I consider a really interesting inverse of the typical hero's journey, where at the start he wanted to get the girl, and then at the end he meets up with Yay again. And then she agrees to sleep with him because she's there's something different about you. And it's almost he doesn't care anymore. The concern for it has gone out of him. Yeah. But as a result of that, he can't enjoy it. Yeah. Because there's she's sleeping next to him and he's no, whatever. He essentially becomes Horza. Did Horza go to Azad?
Well, he's no longer he's no longer bored with his life the way he was, or dissatisfied, but it's almost there's
it's
nothing
all,
now.
He knows it's all fake.
He feels it was all a lie, and
and that is when we discover that the whole story was being narrated by Flerum Saho, who is secretly more in scale the whole time.
I thought that was great.
Yeah. And this leads into my theory. Okay, as I mentioned a while ago, that I had a theory.
Drone.
So I think that more in scale, Flerum Saho, the little core that we see, is been housed in multiple drones. Yeah. And the drone that visits Gurgi from Contact initially is also Flerum Saho. Yeah. Because the reason I think that is because the guy, Flerum Saho's full name, as is announced at the very end of this, is Sprant Flerum Saho Wu Handrahan Zato Trabiti. Yeah. And it's that XATO bit, that Zato bit. The drone has also got that in there. And it's made a point that that's a special circumstances nomenclature
or whatever.
So I get the feeling maybe that was just another alias for him. Because that drone is very erratic.
Is there a connecting thing with the ships? There's a ship that's supporting Flerum Saho's campaign to get back
Diplomat.
in SC. Is it the Gunboat Diplomat?
Yeah.
Can we talk about culture ship names?
Yes. I think that's a good point to land on.
Let's talk about the world building in general in this.
Yeah, sure.
Because we felt it was pretty good in Phlebas, but I think he covers all the same beats in half the space.
Yeah.
And does it really well in this
and
one.
that's one of the things, like, you would think that with a sci-fi universe that's this complicated, you would need a big setup book to explain all the concepts to you, and that's kind of what Banks tries to do by having Hawser bounce from different areas of this universe and explain the different concepts to you. But you don't need all of that.
No, I don't think so at all.
It's much easier and better for the reader
In
to
the
introduce
first 70 or 80 pages of Player Games, we get orbitals, we get drone characterization, we learn all kinds of stuff about the culture, drug glands,
we don't
shifting of genders.
we learn about drug
social
glands.
systems.
We learn about drug glands without a really awkward scene where Craiglen just like rants about how much he loves the culture's biology, and Hawser goes, now we're going to hear about drug glands.
Yeah.
And we do.
We get it because Gergely's glanding a particular thing
to concentrate.
Focus on the game. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really necessarily focusing in on that hedonistic thing, although that is part of what the culture is all about.
Yeah.
You get that advanced physiology thing. You get the whimsical shit names.
Yeah, so that's probably one of my favourite things about the culture is that all of their like contact stuff is like hyper whimsical.
Yeah.
Like they have very extreme personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Like Morin Skell / Flerim Sarho / potentially this other culture drone is he's a very patriotic to a like mad extent.
But it's these contradictions that define special circumstances. He's incredibly patriotic to a society that wouldn't recognise the validity of patriotism. Yeah.
But I think that was actually one of the clues, like that. If he ever fucks with the culture thing, that's something
that's very Morin Skell.
It's so out of character for Flerim Sarho, but very in character for Morin Skell, which makes you think like how much of Morin Skell was an act.
Yeah.
At the beginning,
definitely,
because
he's there to lure Gergely into a situation. He has a role to play,
and that's what
clearly more balanced.
Yeah.
Than we see in those opening pages, because he's playing the role of
and that's one of the things that we find out is because they send Morin Skell's casing to Gergely, and it's like explained if he ever looked at like this little cavity, he'd find it was the exact size and shape of Flerim Sarho. And that's what made me think, because obviously Flerim Sarho's wearing this other drone like the whole time. It's like he was never
like a Russian doll thing.
He was never like I get the impression he was never an out of service SC drone.
Oh no, of course he was.
He was
always that.
He was always in SC. He was there to
which really undermines their argument that they didn't know all about Gergely all along and it was all a big setup.
And I think that's a very interesting concept to have him there to play that role, because obviously as part of the story, the blackmail subplot is resolved almost immediately. Like he's like, I'm going to blackmail you, get me back into SC, and then Gergely's just like, can we get him back into SC? And they're like, I guess.
I'll have a word.
They're like, it'd probably be difficult. But I guess
but
we can.
Within 20, 30 pages, he's off on his adventure.
And he's never really mentioned again.
Morin Skell again. Technically.
Until Chambliss mounts his case on his trophy wall. One arsehole.
Like, you get that, like, I think perhaps in more sort of trope-heavy sci-fi, AIs, drones, they'd be presented as like uber rational or perhaps not quite human, but you see like anger, resentment, bitterness, but also I think quite endearing.
Can we talk about Chiart Cup?
Yes, I was just going to ask you because this really was your first look at mind. And it is a civilian mind, but so you'll see differences with SC minds later on in the series.
Well, that's an interesting point of comparison, because the mind that is the MacGuffin of Phlebas is rubbish.
Yeah, it is.
Like it's really boring, and like there's an interlude with the mind, and like the whole thing is like 5 pages of just been like, I've got loads of storage space.
But it's gone. I've
Yeah,
lost
but
it.
I can't sense
use
it. It's rubbish.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, this is...
And his plan was just to hide in a train.
Yeah.
Forever.
Well, he can't float or anything.
Yeah,
so he's just sort of there.
Yeah.
And he like scouts out the tunnels. And you don't really get an idea that he had a plan.
No.
And he like sort of did some like really weird warp thing.
Yeah.
That like made it just like, oh, that's like a really huge like leap.
He took some massive
yeah.
risk in like astrophysics or whatever to escape and end up on Charles.
And that's kind of like they want to get him back because they're confused about how he did it. Yeah. And one thing I don't understand is that mind then like names itself, because the minds get to pick their own name when they're like inserted into a ship or whatever. So he calls himself the Horrible Gorbachev.
Don't know why.
Why? Did he?
Because that was a character we knew.
That was a character we knew, but like Horza never like became a hero of the culture. No. He never really had any impact on this mind. I was
going to say there's a bit which again could have been the culmination of an arc right at the end of Phlebas, where Balvader's hanging off the gantry by one arm in the classic action movie, right? Like the Ideran guy's broken her other arm and she can't get up, and Horza makes the split-second decision to pull her up instead of chasing the Ideran. Again, unearned end to an arc that didn't happen. Has it got anything to do with that? I don't know. I don't want to waste any more time talking about Phlebas, James. Can we talk more about Chiark Hub?
Yeah, so Chiark Hub is he's basically all minds are like they're sentient, but they're also like computer installations. So Chiark Hub is like he's the central computer for the orbital.
They literally, when we get to look to windward, you'll see that the mind is literally stationed in a hub in the middle of the orbital.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there's like substrate bits of it that are looking after the various areas.
Okay. So Chiark Hub is this really over-eager, chipper, like personality, and like when he's initially approached by contact, he asks Hub for like some advice, and he's like, "Oh wow, is that what was going on?
Exciting!
This is brilliant!
I'll send down a team of drones."
Because he was like, "Oh, we were having bets on who you were talking to." What was that all about, mate? Keep us informed. It's really interesting.
And he's like, when Chamnis, like a Malkne, comes around to talk to Gergely a bit about it, the first contact drone. Hub has to like admit that he was listening in for a bit, which is quite taboo in the culture. But he's like, well, you could have asked for that information. But I was just really excited. I wanted to know what was going on.
It's like it's a really interesting, it's a really lovely like world building thing that Banks has done. Like it really does separate them from like other AI in other books, because like as you say, AI are very typically like, we are here to serve you, we are the AI, or they're like Skynet Terminators. But like the all the minds are very different.
They're very distinct, and in a similar way, but also a different way to the way that the drones are very distinct. Yeah. They have their foibles, they have their idiosyncrasies. I can't wait to delve into more mind-heavy stuff.
They all have wonderful names for their ships.
The ships are fantastic, and there's like layers to it as well. Like the warships will have kind of quirky,
like really verbose
plays. Yeah. Of it. But then at the same time, like the culture hates. I guess like what's the phrase they use? Let's just call it like a PR terms, like the way you might hide. What was the famous one years ago? Collateral damage, right?
Yeah.
Like, we all know what that means now, but it was like a PR term to hide something about war. So although the ships still have quite whimsical but a bit aggressive names, the classes of warships are all like gangster class, abominator class,
murderer class.
Yeah, murderer class. Yeah.
But they do have like just ridiculous names that are just, like they're always great. Like jokes. What are some of the names from this?
This one doesn't have loads.
It has got Gunboat Diplomat, which is more in Scale's friend.
Is the SC one called Zealot? I think is there one called Zealot?
What's the one that takes Gergely to Azad.
I've literally opened this on. Looks like it's heading for the GSV. Unfortunate conflict of evidence.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, so that's one of the highlights. If nothing else, people listening to this, go check out Culture Ship Names and have a little chuckle to yourself. There is a Wikipedia page of all the ship names. They're great.
They are superb. And I think that pretty much wraps us up.
Yeah, I reckon
We've gone to 1 hour 46.
I reckon that's probably enough time to talk about these books.
Yeah. So,
what's up next?
What is up next is Use of Weapons.
It is.
And the short story collection,
State of
the Art. Now, not all of the stories in State of the Art are culture stories, are they? We're going to talk about all of the stories, though.
I think we could do.
I think it's probably worth doing.
Yeah, I think it's worth doing. There's some really enjoyable things in there anyway.
And they're not very long.
Yeah, exactly. I think it'll be a shorter episode, although Use of Weapons is brand new to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's roughly as long as Phlebas, but I think it's a much stronger book.
Yeah, I think that, like just reading the back, I'm like, oh, these sound like characters.
Yeah.
With a purpose.
Yes. Yeah, big time.
So that's good.
And there's a tiny sort of link between the two, actually, more so probably than any other two books in the Culture series, in that there's a shared character. Which never comes up.
And I've already read State of the Art once.
Yeah.
So I read it out of order because I was confused about the order for some reason, even though it's printed on the inside cover of every
Oh, right, okay.
But I thought State of the Art came first, so I just read it first.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a really enjoyable collection of little stories that you could read
at any
point.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm actually going to say right now, don't reconsider Phlebas. If you're interested in this series, I mean, you're probably not listening to this because we've spoiled everything. Yeah. But if you are interested in this,
you've probably already read Consider Phlebas.
We have a mutual friend who's read a lot of Banks's sci-fi stuff, and I was talking to him about it recently, and he said, like, he wants to reread, but he's always put off by Phlebas.
Yeah.
And it just don't do it.
Just don't bother.
And Player of Games was the first one I read,
mm-hmm.
and then I probably read Use of Weapons and went back to Phlebas.
Yeah. Like, you get... If it's like if you're introducing someone else to the series, like, give them Player of Games first.
Yeah.
And then if they're, like, interested in seeing the origins, then... Maybe give them Phlebas, but don't
give
even
them Use of Weapons and State of the Art.
Yeah,
get them hooked. And
get them invested and then send them back. But yeah, there's no point reading. I think I've said it in every discussion. Like, I've done my review of Phlebas, my spoiler-free review of Phlebas. Like I say, don't bother.
Yeah, I would echo that. But highly recommend Player of Games.
Absolutely.
To science fiction fans, to non-science fiction fans who might be interested.
Yeah. Fans of ideology.
Pretty short, yeah. I do like a bit of ideology.
Right, so I guess that's it. So thanks for sticking around if you've been listening to all of this. Probably when we edit it down, it's going to be at least an hour and a half. So that's
I reckon so.
Good feature length.
Yeah.
Get your money's worth.
Nice.
Free. But much like the culture, I abhor the use of money. So, yeah, there you go.
I like that.
We will catch you in the next episode of this when we get around to recording. It'll probably be.
I reckon we could probably do it next month. Thanks, guys.
Goodbye.